If you're so brilliant, Caleb Thornton snarls, slamming the contract onto the counter at Seattle's Starlight Coffee. His icy words slice through the cafe's warm hum. Patrons freeze. Forks and knives halt midair. But Clara Bennett, the 20-year-old waitress, doesn't flinch. She gazes at the thick stack of papers, a billion-dollar merger contract that stumped Seattle's top lawyers. The city's dazzling lights hide the secrets of a single father and a resilient young woman. Can Clara shatter stereotypes to shine? What will Caleb discover through her? Uncover this gripping tale. Don't forget to hit subscribe to 30 Millionaire Stories. Follow emotional journeys of millionaires and waitresses. Seattle at night shimmers like a canvas of light. Skyscrapers reflect on Puget Sound's waters, but in Starlight Cafe, the air grows taut, like a string about to snap. Caleb Thornton, 45, a millionaire and single father to an 8-year-old girl, hunches in the corner, his deep blue eyes weary, as if bearing the world's weight. Founder of Thornton Innovations, a billion-dollar tech empire born in a Redmond garage, he now dominates Seattle's core. But tonight, he's not in his sleek glass office. He's in a coffee shop with worn wooden tables, facing the collapse of a billion-dollar merger with Novatech. The red-inked papers before him are a battlefield, each line an arrow aimed at the legacy he built. Clara Bennett, a 20-year-old waitress, pale with brown hair tied high in a gray apron scented with toasted bread and coffee, gently sets an espresso before Caleb. Her eyes skim his face, noting the tension in his furrowed brow and clenched hands. She offers a faint smile in attempt to pierce the heavy air. "Looks like you're battling a dragon," she says. Her voice is soft but not frail. Caleb doesn't look up, his gaze fixed on the documents. His tone is curt, erecting a wall. "It's a contract. You wouldn't understand." Clara doesn't retreat. "I could," she replies. Her voice calm, her eyes flashing a spark of defiance. Her words ripple through Caleb's still lake, making him look up. His pride flares. He's unused to being challenged, especially by a young waitress he assumes is worlds apart from him. "If you're so smart, translate this," he snaps, slamming the contract on the counter. A test, a dare to prove her wrong. The clink of cutlery, the murmurs of nearby patrons, form a faint backdrop. But Clara doesn't waver. She takes the papers. Her sharp eyes scan each line, not as dry clauses, but as a puzzle to solve. The world around her shrinks. It's just her and the words, a silent realm where logic reigns. Her heart beats steady, not from fear, but from fierce focus, like when she sat in economics lectures at the University of Washington before life struck hard. This clause, she points to a section, her voice firm, lets Novatech back out if your stock drops over 6% post-merger announcement. But market disruption is too vague, leaving a loophole for them to flip. And the $350 million escrow fund lacks clear release terms. This isn't a partnership. It's a trap. Caleb blinks. Surprise softens the rigid lines of his face. Clara's words, like a bolt of light, tear through the fog in his mind, where he's wrestled for weeks with tangled clauses. "How do you know this?" he asks, his voice no longer sharp, but laced with curiosity, as if seeing her for the first time, not a waitress, but a person with her own story. Clara keeps reading, her finger tracing the page. Her eyes stay fixed on the text. "I studied economics at UW, she says, her voice low but steady, "before my father died. Before I had to wait tables to pay hospital debts." Her words carry no resentment, just truth. Yet they land heavy, like a stone dropped into the silent space. Caleb falls quiet, His gaze shifts from arrogance to sudden understanding. He realizes he misjudged her, let prejudice blind him to the fact that she's not just a coffee server, but someone with dreams who's fought and still fights. Clara slides the contract back toward him. Her eyes don't waver. "Revise Clause 5B and add clear escrow fund triggers," she says, her voice firm, like a strategist, not a waitress. "Otherwise, they'll crush you when you're weakest." She turns, heading to the kitchen, head high, her stride steady, as if reclaiming a piece of herself. Caleb watches her go, her figure vanishing behind the door, but her words echo in his mind. He looks down at the contract. The words, once a chaotic maze, now seem clearer than ever. For the first time in weeks, a spark of hope flickers, not from his costly legal team or advisors, but from a young woman with rough hands and unyielding eyes. Yet with hope comes a pang of guilt. His pride nearly blinded him to a truth, nearly dismissed someone who could shift the tide. Caleb grips the espresso cup. Its warmth spreads through his palm, a reminder that sometimes the greatest solutions come from the most unexpected places. Clara, in Starlight Cafe's small kitchen, wipes her hands on her apron. Her heart pounds, not from anger, but from quiet pride. She didn't back down, proved her worth, if only for a moment. But deep down, she wonders, can a moment like this change her life? Or will she remain a waitress forever, serving coffee and unshaped dreams? That night, Caleb Thornton doesn't sleep. In his lavish Belltown penthouse, Seattle's lights cast long, ghostly shadows on the walls. But his mind is consumed by Clara Bennett. Not because she bruised his ego, but because her calm sharpness, like a blade slicing through arrogance's fog, lingers. He recalls how she stood before him at Starlight Cafe, unflinching under his challenge, how she dissected the contract with the precision of editing a poem. As a single father to Sophie, his 8-year-old with sparkling eyes, Caleb views the world through a protective lens. But Clara has stirred something deep, a spark of hope, a reminder that talent can emerge from the least expected places. The next morning, his legal team confirms Clara's insight. Clause 5B and the $350 million escrow fund are lethal loopholes Novatech could exploit. The news ignites both anger and admiration in Caleb. 3 top lawyers with 6-figure salaries missed what a 20-year-old waitress spotted in minutes. The truth stings his pride, yet it awakens him. He realizes he misjudged her, let prejudice obscure a razor-sharp mind. By Tuesday, Caleb returns to Starlight Cafe during a bustling lunch rush. Clara weaves through tables, a tray of sodas in hand, moving with natural grace. A silent dance. She glances at him, her eyes free of hostility, merely acknowledging him as part of the familiar scene. "Latte again?" she asks, standing at the counter, her voice light but direct. "I'm here for you," Caleb replies bluntly. His gaze locks onto hers, unwavering. Clara sets the tray down, crossing her arms. An invisible shield rises. "I'm working," she says, her tone even. "I need just a few minutes," he insists. "Thank you. You saved me from disaster. Millions are the least of it." Clara raises an eyebrow. A flicker of skepticism crosses her face. "Sure you want to thank a waitress?" she asks, her voice tinged with irony, testing his intent. Caleb sits, his eyes fixed on her. "I don't think you're just a waitress," he says, his voice low but firm. "I see someone who grasps systems, sees through language. Given a chance, you'd outshine any analyst at my company." Clara studies him, her gaze probing, weighing each word. "Are you offering me a job?" she asks, her voice soft but sharp. "Not quite," Caleb replies. "I want to talk. After your shift, just coffee, my treat." She nods slightly, her eyes still wary. 9 p.m. when my shift ends. If you're serious, you'll wait." He smiles, a wordless commitment. "I'm serious." At 9 p.m., the cafe quiets. Only soft murmurs and the scent of coffee linger. Clara emerges, apron off, hair loose, her face softer yet still resolute. She sits across from Caleb at the familiar booth. "You're persistent," she says, her voice light, tinged with curiosity. "I'm curious," he replies, his eyes sincere. "About how you got here. Someone like you, why this counter instead of a San Francisco office?" Clara sighs. Her gaze drifts over the coffee cup before her. "Life doesn't follow a script, Mr. Thornton," she says, her voice free of self-pity, just stating truth. "I had plans. Economics at UW, a scholarship. Dreams of financial analysis. Then my father died of cancer. Medical bills piled up. My mother broke down. I had to drop out to support my family." She pauses, her eyes grow distant. "I still study. Finance books, corporate reports, anything I can find. I code, built an app for financial education, tools to help young people understand contracts, investments. But who takes a college dropout waitress seriously?" "I will," Caleb says, without hesitation. Clara raises an eyebrow. Skepticism flickers in her eyes. "You who told me to stick to pouring coffee?" He clenches his jaw. A flash of shame crosses his face. "I deserve that," he admits. Clara shakes her head. "I don't want charity," she says, her voice firm. "Good," Caleb replies. "I'm not offering charity. I want a partnership. I'll help build your app. Resources, coders, capital. You lead. I'll back you." Clara falls silent. Her eyes probe as if weighing a chess move. "The hardest part of being invisible," she says, her voice low, "is when they look right at you and decide you're not worth seeing." Caleb softens his tone, his eyes sincere. "Then make them look again." She nods slightly, a decision made. "All right, but I want to be an equal partner." "You will be," he promises, his voice resolute. They clink their coffee cups. A deal sealed in silence. In that moment, a spark ignites. Not just a partnership, but the start of a journey laced with mystery and potential, where two souls, once defined by circumstance, begin rewriting their story. 3 days later, Clara Bennett steps into Thornton Innovations headquarters, 30th floor, East Conference Room. The gleaming building, with its glass-like floors and towering windows, opens to a world alien to her. She smooths her thrift store blue shirt, clutching a worn leather portfolio holding sketches of her financial education app, a dream nurtured through long nights at the coffee counter. The security guard checks her ID twice. His probing eyes suggest she doesn't belong. At the reception desk, a staffer hesitates, calling her Clara the waitress with a mocking tone. But Clara keeps her chin high, her gaze steady. She's not here to be defined by her past. She's here to rewrite her future. Caleb Thornton waits in the meeting room, tablet in hand. A rare smile softens his stern features. "Come in. It's just us," he says, his voice low but warm. Clara sits, back straight, heart pounding but concealed. She opens her portfolio, neatly arranged sketches, each line a distillation of self-taught hours, sleepless nights. "I want to review key priorities," she begins, her voice firm. "The app must be accessible, intuitive, multilingual. It's for students, workers, people unfamiliar with finance. Tiered content, interactive scenarios on leases, loans, small investments. Simple language. Finance shouldn't be a trap only a few escape." Caleb leans forward, his eyes spark, drawn to the clarity and passion in her words. "You figured this out alone?" he asks, his voice tinged with awe. Clara shrugs, a simple gesture brimming with confidence. "I listen," she replies, "and I've lived broke. That's a harsher school than any lecture hall." Her words carry no bitterness, just truth. Yet they land heavy, like a stone dropped into the silent room, leaving Caleb quiet for a moment, his gaze pensive. A knock interrupts. Edward Langston, Deputy Legal Director, enters, his crisp gray suit pristine, his skeptical eyes scan Clara like a blade. "I thought this was a closed meeting," he says, his voice icy, clearly displeased by her presence. Caleb responds instantly, unwavering. "Clara's a member," he states, his voice resolute. Edward forces a smile, but his eyes betray contempt. "Oh, the waitress," he remarks, his tone laced with sarcasm, as if to remind Clara of her place. Clara doesn't blink, her eyes sharp as arrows. "Still working weekends at Starlight," she replies, her voice calm but unflinching. "Tips are better than you'd think." Caleb rises, his presence commands without ostentation. "Edward," he says, his voice low but sharp. "Clara spotted 2 fatal flaws in the merger contract your team missed. She's leading the app project. I want your team to provide legal support and an IP framework." Edward raises an eyebrow. Skepticism flashes in his eyes. "You're serious?" he asks, his tone nearly defiant. Caleb meets his gaze, unflinching. "I don't joke with billions," he replies, each word a hammer driving a nail. Edward nods, but his eyes remain cold, as if silently plotting to obstruct. As Edward exits, Clara looks down at the table. Her fingers grip the edge of her portfolio. "He won't help me," she says, her voice low but certain. "He'll block my way." Caleb sighs, a wordless acknowledgement. "He's old school," he says, softening the truth. Clara shakes her head, her eyes pierce, seeing through it all. "No," she corrects. "He's a gatekeeper, and I'm not the kind he wants to let through." Her words strike like an arrow, hitting true. Caleb falls silent for a moment, his gaze tinged with guilt. "Want me to fire him?" Caleb asks, his voice serious, ready to act. Clara meets his eyes, unwavering. "No," she replies. "I want to earn this myself. But when I need you, you'd better back me." Her words aren't a request, but a declaration. A testament she won't lean on others, yet won't tolerate isolation. Caleb nods. Respect glints in his eyes. "You've got me," he vows, his voice firm, an unbreakable pledge. Clara closes her eyes briefly, inhaling deeply. She feels the weight of this moment. She's no longer the invisible waitress at Starlight Cafe, but she knows the road ahead won't be easy. Edward and his kind won't let her pass their gates without a fight. Yet deep within, a fire smolders, the flame of late-night studies, deferred dreams, a resolve to prove her worth. She opens her eyes. They blaze, ready for the challenge. Caleb watches her, realizing he's not just partnering with talent, but with someone who could rewrite the game's rules. 2 weeks after the MoneyWise app's public launch, Clara Bennett begins to notice a quiet but unmistakable pattern. Small, relentless obstacles pile up like stones, blocking her path. Meetings are postponed without reason. Legal documents stall, trapped in endless review cycles. Her system access password mysteriously expires, forcing hours of waiting to restore it. One Wednesday morning, her entry badge fails. The receptionist, with an indifferent gaze, repeats like a mantra, "You're not in the system this week." Clara stands there, heart pounding, clutching her worn portfolio. She waits an hour for manual entry. She's not surprised, but the injustice smolders like a hidden flame, eroding her patience. In the lab, Edward Langston stands before a whiteboard, leading a meeting Clara wasn't invited to. In his crisp gray suit with a smooth voice, he discusses reorienting MoneyWise's rollout strategy, citing legal risks as a shield. Clara enters, setting her bag down with a soft clack. Her sharp eyes sweep the room. "Who's worried about risks?" she asks, her voice calm but unflinching. Edward turns, offering a thin smile, as if her presence is a nuisance. "The board, investors," he replies. "They're concerned the app's language could be seen as financial advice." Clara crosses her arms. Her gaze doesn't waver. "It's not advice, it's education," she says, her voice firm. "Every scenario uses public data, with clear disclaimers." Edward nods, his smile fixed, but his eyes are ice cold. "Even so, the company's reputation must be protected," he says, his voice silky yet sharp. "Perhaps we should limit school access, restrict testing to private groups." Clara shakes her head, stepping forward. Her voice rings like a declaration of war. "No. Those students are why the app exists. Limiting access doesn't protect the company. It protects the old system." Edward steps closer, his voice soft but laced with an invisible blade. "Ms. Bennett, we admire your passion," he says, "but this isn't a college project. There are legal boundaries you don't fully grasp." Clara meets his stare. Her eyes burn like an unquenchable flame. "I know boundaries well," she retorts, her voice low but cutting. "I've lived in them my whole life." The room falls silent. The air thickens, but Clara doesn't yield. The meeting resumes, but from that moment she knows what she's up against. Not just Edward, but a system intent on keeping her in place. That evening, Clara meets Caleb Thornton in his office. The space exudes power yet hums with tension. She stands before his desk. Her eyes don't shy away. "They want to choke it," she says, her voice blunt. Caleb furrows his brow. His gaze probes. "Who?" he asks. "Edward and whoever's behind him," Clara replies. Caleb rubs his temple as if staving off a headache. "Edward's been here from the start," he says. "He's cautious, not malicious." Clara shakes her head. Her eyes pierce through pretense. "It's not caution," she corrects. "He's scared. Scared a college dropout might outshine his department." Caleb falls silent. His pensive gaze lingers, weighing her words. Then he nods, a wordless concession. "I'll handle it," he says, his voice resolute. Clara raises her hand, stopping him. "No," she says, her voice firm. "Let me. I don't want it handed to me. I want to take it." Caleb looks at her. Respect glints in his eyes. "What do you need from me?" he asks. "Back up," Clara replies, each word a hammer strike. Quiet, strong, immediate. The next morning, Clara arrives early, carrying a box of donuts, glazed, apple, powdered sugar, placing it on the meeting table without a word. She smiles at the coding team, nodding to each member, her eyes friendly but not frail. She plugs in her laptop, starts working. Her voice fills the room, not seeking permission, but leading. The atmosphere shifts, slowly but distinctly. Skeptical glances from the team give way to curiosity, then respect. Clara doesn't demand acceptance. She builds it, step by step. In her heart, a tide of emotion surges. She thinks of long nights at Starlight Cafe, hours of self-study at the kitchen table, medical bills piling up after her father's death. She thinks of her mother, of dreams deferred, and of herself. The girl once deemed invisible, now standing here, facing gatekeepers like Edward. Clara knows the road ahead won't be easy. Edward and his kind won't relent, but neither will she. She's not just fighting for money-wise, but for everyone like her, those overlooked by the system, yet carrying an unquenchable flame within. Caleb, watching from afar, feels a flicker of pride in his eyes. He knows Clara doesn't need him to pave the way, but he's ready to stand behind her, as she demanded. Clara, with her laptop open before her, feels the weight of responsibility, but also her own strength. She's no longer the nameless waitress. She's a leader, breaking the boundaries that once confined her. The MoneyWise launch unfolds in a dazzling Seattle auditorium. Crystal chandeliers cast light like fallen stars. Clara Bennett, now the project's lead, steps onto the stage. Her heart pounds as if it might burst, yet her face betrays no tremor. A deep blue suit, carefully chosen from a modest shop, fits her frame, replacing the gray apron that once defined her Starlight Cafe days. At 20, she faces hundreds, investors, executives, reporters, a world she once thought she'd never belong to. She takes a deep breath. Her steady voice rings out, introducing Caleb Thornton. Applause surges through the hall like a wave, sweeping away lingering doubts in her heart. But beneath her poised exterior, a current of emotion pulses. Pride mixes with fear, as if she's balancing on a thin wire between past and future. Clara steps back. Her gaze sweeps the crowd, suppressing the tide rising in her chest. Each step on this stage is a triumph, a testament to overcoming late nights pouring coffee, hours studying at the kitchen table, and skeptical glares from men like Edward Langston. She thinks of her mother, her brother, the medical bills that once crushed her family, and of herself, the girl once invisible, now leading a project that could transform millions of lives. Yet a part of her fears this light is fleeting, that she won't have the strength to hold it. Caleb Thornton ascends the stage. His presence commands without ostentation, his voice deep and captivating as he begins his speech. But then he pauses. His eyes find Clara, a rare smile softening his stern features. "I want to honor someone extraordinary," he says. His voice resonates. Clara is proof of resilience and talent. The hall erupts in applause, but Clara stands frozen, her face flushed, her heart near bursting. Caleb's praise is a gift she never dared dream of, yet it weighs heavy, like a cloak too large for her shoulders. She feels the gaze of hundreds, admiring, scrutinizing, and a wave of emotion surges. Pride entwines with fear she'll never meet this expectation. Then, Unexpectedly, Caleb beckons her back to the stage, his eyes warm but resolute. "Clara, you've changed me," he says, his voice rich, each word forged from his soul. "I once thought money was everything, but you taught me the value of trust and grit." Clara is stunned. Her eyes meet his, and in that moment, a spark pierces her heart. An unnamed feeling, both familiar and mysterious, like an invisible thread binding them. She stands there, heart racing, not from the stage lights, but from the sincerity in Caleb's voice, as if he speaks not just to her, but to himself. Clara grips the microphone, her fingers tighten, her voice trembles slightly but rings clear. "I'm Clara Bennett," she begins. Her eyes sweep the hall, piercing each face. "I grew up blocks from here. I served coffee, cared for my mom, raised my brother. Money-wise isn't for boardrooms. It's for those who signed contracts they didn't understand and paid dearly. This is light for those left in the dark." The hall falls silent, as if the world holds its breath. Then applause explodes, a storm shattering every barrier. Clara stands there. Tears glisten, not from pain but from an odd relief. She spoke not just for the crowd but for herself, affirming she belongs here. Backstage after the event, Caleb seeks her out, his tall frame imposing, yet his eyes gentle, as if shielding her from the world. "You did it," he says, his voice deep, brimming with unspoken pride. Clara smiles, a genuine smile, free of her defensive shield. "We did it," she corrects. Her eyes meet his, and in that moment, a connection deeper than words takes root. The stage lights cast a soft, hazy glow behind them, painting a warm, enigmatic scene, as if fate drew them here, not just to build money-wise, but to find each other. Clara reflects on her journey, endless nights at Starlight Cafe, scorn from Edward and his ilk, dreams she once shelved. She thinks of Caleb, who challenged her but believed in her more than anyone. In her heart, a fire smolders, not just for Moneywise's success, but for a new feeling, as if she stands before an unseen door. Caleb, watching her, realizes Clara isn't just a partner. She's someone who's reshaped how he sees the world. They stand there, words unnecessary, their presence enough, like two lost souls now sharing a common path. The story of Caleb and Clara proves that pride can melt before sincerity. Resilience can illuminate the darkest paths. Caleb, a millionaire single father, finds meaning beyond wealth through a determined waitress. Clara, from a coffee counter, rewrites her fate with talent and heart. Life is a journey of challenges and healing, but trust and love can change everything. Let this story inspire you that anyone can rise from shadows. Love can bloom in unexpected moments. Dear American audience, if Caleb and Clara's journey moves you, hit subscribe to 30 Millionaire Stories. Share this tale and leave a comment with your thoughts. Together, let's spread stories that touch the heart.